Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. We're getting right into it today. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. You can send me cash through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Follow me on social media over here and buy my books, which are down in the description below. Everyone's been talking to me, emailing me, talking about what you going to do now, Madman. What you going to do now? What you going to do now with this Miller Lite feminist ad? And I'm just like, look, first of all, don't send me news stories. Don't assume I haven't already read that. I read upwards of 100,000 words a day, and 90% of that is news content. And it's like 60-40 actual news to news opinion. So you don't need to send me articles. I've already read it 2 days ago. As a matter of fact, this whole Miller Lite ad issue that everyone's like, oh, Miller Lite's your brand, you're going to have to quit Miller Lite now. It's like, no, I don't. Because I knew about this feminist video that came out when it came out in March, and I was like, this is awful. But Miller Lite realized it was awful. That's why they deleted the video. They knew they were wrong. As far as I'm concerned, 1 out of 4 women will admit that they like beer. Or I should say, will say that they like beer. I think it's really more like 15% of women actually like beer. Women generally don't want to burp every 45 seconds. So don't try to convince women that they need to drink more beer. Women love wine, okay? They love wine. I don't know why, these beer companies think they need to break into that market, all right? And then you got the difference between Miller Lite's ad, which is a feminist ad, and you got the difference between Bud Light's ad, is completely different. Feminism is a completely different problem in comparison to Dylan Mulvaney and the transgender issue. All right, completely different. Feminism has its own problems I could talk about. I think it's a completely different thing, because the feminists should be mad at Dylan Mulvaney. The feminists should be boycotting Bud Light, because Dylan Mulvaney and everyone like him is an affront to everything that is woman. So get your priorities straight. Understand that there's a difference between the two. Just because they're both beer doesn't mean they're the same. Okay? They all want to talk about it's all piss water anyway. It's like, go drink your craft beers, you pretentious asshole. So I don't want to hear it. And, God, I read the news every day. I can't not. Anyway, so I want to go into this first thing. I'm going to pull up a picture here. Bamf! Limestone. So I want to tell this story. I got a lot of memories broke loose lately. And so I was thinking about this one where I went in this church mission trip where I went with a bunch of people from my youth group, and we met up with a bunch of people from other church youth groups, and we went and build houses for the poor. It was called World Changers. And my very first year, I remember, it was like a bunch of us, we're teenage boys, and we all love comic books. And so we're in this group, and we're having these conversations about comic books all the time. And I remember we had this one conversation, and some kid was like, man, if I had any superpower, I would want to have Nightcrawler's power. That teleporting, you can go do anything. You can break into any store you want, take anything you want, tuck it up on your arm, bring a backpack, stuff all the toys you want in it, zip it up, and then bamf. Brimstone. And everyone got a good laugh out of that. And there's this one guy who didn't read comic books, didn't understand anything we were talking about, and somehow picked up on this as a joke among the group that allows him, as a participant, because he laughed at that joke as well. And the reason why we say Bamf Brimstone was because in the comic books it says when he teleports, that purpley mist smells like brimstone. So this guy got confused, and so he started saying he'd just say to get himself into the good graces of the group again. He'd say Bamf Limestone, because he didn't really register exactly what we said. So he'd go Bamf Limestone, and we'd all get a big laugh out of that. And so it started traveling around all these people who are working on this site with us. We're making the Bamf Limestone joke all the time. We have people coming up to us. It's like, it's actually brimstone. I know what Bamf is. I read comic books too. And it's like, yes, we know. It's not as funny as Bamf Limestone. So that was a fun little memory, building houses. We were sleeping in an unair conditioned school in Georgia, building houses for poor people, making comic book jokes. Bamf, Limestone. Good memory. Good memory. Oh, there was also another memory where a guy didn't, one of our, he had never encountered somebody who was uncircumcised before in the shower and was asking a lot of questions. This guy just kept pulling on his, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, so what's this guy actually doing? And it was like, you never heard of a foreskin and what a pain in the butt it is? Well, ooh, don't take that out of context. Ooh. Anyway, yeah, I'm thinking a lot of memories breaking loose. I was thinking about a couple jobs I had before I joined the Navy. It's not yet. Next one. Oh, you're pulling that one down. Oh, okay, I see. You got a cupcake? No, I don't make my purple tongue while I'm here on the show. It looks like it'll turn your mouth purple. But damn, that looks good. Anyway, I want to talk about a couple jobs I had before I went in the Navy. And you got to understand, this is like 1997, 1998. And a lot of people may not remember like the door-to-door salesman or the phone salesman and stuff like that. And I started to work for this company back when I was like 19. And the business was selling a $2,000 vacuum cleaner. All right, yeah, they say it could filter the air, it has cyclonic action and a HEPA filter and all this stuff. I'm not trying to name the company, but if you know anything about this, you probably know who I'm talking about. And so the job, there are a couple of different, yeah, there's a couple different ones like that, but it's basically a $2,000 vacuum cleaner. And so what the job they hired me for was to take these referrals that they get from the sales and stuff like that, and I would call the people and try to make appointments with them based upon the referrals they'd get from these sales. But if there wasn't any referrals, we would use you've been referred by a friend, your friend being the phone book. So we would make us like do cold calls in the phone book, trying to get people to make appointments to get a free like certificate for a 3-day, vacation or something like that, timeshare or something like that down at the beach. And then, you come out there just for walking in the door and listening to the pitch, And so a lot of people would want just the free stuff, and they clearly can't afford a $2,000 vacuum cleaner, or have no need for one. And frankly, a lot of people don't have any need for that. And so it was kind of a weird job. It was a little shady at times. It was shady in the sense that I had to make cold calls and try to pretend to these people that, yeah, some friend of yours. Oh, it was starts with S. Simon. Yes, your bestie Simon. He was your best man at your wedding. Oh, he didn't mention that when I spoke to him. It was a little shady. I mean, it was in the late 90s, and boy, did it get shadier. All right. Eventually, I moved out of that and started working into the sales department. Actually going out and demonstrating the equipment. And in the process, I started learning the habits of the people I was working around, the people who ran this little company. And, like they're smoking weed all the time. They're doing bumps in the back. They're screwing each other in the back. The one guy was married to the other, like another manager, but he's like banging every chick that came in the place. And they would, to my shame and I guess credit, I would do these coked up pothead idiots. I would be able to I'll dare me to do something. I'll do something for $20. Dare me to do something. And I ran down the 17 with my pants on my ankle, screaming "I suck dick" for $20. I jumped off a 2-story building for $20. I was an idiot. I did those things to my everlasting shame and credit. But it was nothing compared to what these people were doing. Eventually, the business went under, obviously. What I heard was that there was an incredibly high phone sex 900 number bill that came in. And so it was interesting working for a corrupt organization, because it kind of, I guess, prepared me for every other organization, because you start to realize like almost every organization is corrupt. Some are more corrupt than others. And I remember at that time, I didn't really care that much about what I was doing as a quote unquote career, because I was still caught up in like playing like role playing games and stuff like that. I think at that time I was doing the DC Heroes role playing game with my friends, and I was making up typing up adventures, and I remember drew a huge map of the city, the fictional city, all these superhero adventures take place in. You know, that's what I was doing in my time. I was still creating back then, but you know, it's not like I knew that business was going to go under. I saw it was like, these are bad habits and this is not how a business should be run. And so I just let it collapse around me. And I said, oh, well, stepped out of the ashes and moved on with my life, you know. And then, you know, I was less cynical when I got to the Navy and saw how corrupt some of that is. And every other job I've had, you know, since. You know, you start to realize, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of corruption everywhere, you know. Can't get rid of it all. Get rid of it all. If you ever played Civilization, you can't get rid of all the corruption. All right. Yeah. So another memory that jogged loose was this fisheye that every angler has a story about the big one that got away, you know. And I remember the big one that got away from me was probably like, I don't know, it's probably the best story ever. It's not this fish. This fish is like 3 times the size of one of the story I'm telling. This is about like 1987, 1988. We were up at, we had a friend that had a boat who never fished before. And I found that to be weird. It's like, why do you have a boat then? You know, and oh, you got a bunch of like the tubes that you drag around, water skis and so forth. And so, but my dad and I and he and his son got on his boat in Saranac Lake, New York, upstate New York, and we went fishing. And I remember it was like, we weren't getting a whole lot of action, not a whole lot of fish. My dad caught one and his friend caught one. And me and the other kid, Eric, his name was Eric, likely still is, he was unable to catch anything. I was unable to catch anything. So I took my bobber off and I threw out the, you know, just a night crawler and a weight and threw it over into a nice shady spot. And I took out my book, because back then I carried a book with me everywhere. And I started reading, you know, a couple chapters. About 15, 20 minutes passed, you know, and they're like, oh, we're not getting any hits here, so we're going to move to another spot. So reel your lines in. So, okay. So I put my book down. I start reeling the line in. As soon as I start that, I see a little flash under the water. I was like, that's odd. And as soon as I'm going, that's odd, my line starts pulling like crazy. And I'm like, whoa. And I swear to God, it's the first good fight I ever had catching a fish. And boy, oh boy, was it a blast when I finally reeled in this 22-inch, 70-ounce, what's that, like 4.5, 5 pounds? Yeah, pike. It's not as big as this one. But it was a good-sized pike. You know, and I felt really accomplished, and it's like the first good fight I got. And my friend Eric got real excited. Where'd you catch that? It's like, over there. So he cast over there. It's like, yeah, his friends are like, where's he going? We want to go with him. And so we had already caught, like I said, the group had already caught 2 fish, and we had a stringer running through the 2 fish's gills and mouths, and we had it like tied to the side of the boat and hanging in the water. I guess is like a warning to their friends or something. And so we got the pike, and we put him on the stringer, and I was like, oh, so proud. I wish I got a picture of it, but you know, it was 1987 and nobody brought their Kodak disc. You know what I mean? So I tied it back up, and it was like, got this big ass pike, and I felt like I didn't need to do any more fishing that day. So I went back to read my book, you know. But Eric, boy, he wanted to catch a fish. He wanted to catch a fish. So we're all giving tips and stuff like that. Finally, he catches a fish. We reel it in. He's all excited, but the fish swallowed the hook, and it's way down in his gullet, right? And so he's pulling the fish in, and my dad's got the needle nose pliers. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this hook out for you here." And Eric's all excited and everything, and he goes, "Scott, go untie the stringer, because we're about to put his fish on the stringer." I'm like, "Okay." So I untie the stringer and I hold the fish in the water, waiting. And he's like, "Oh, hell, I'm having a hell of a time. I'm having a hell of a time trying to, Scott, come over here and see if you can get this hook out." And I was like, "Okay." So I walked right over there, dropped what was in my hand, absentmindedly, and went over there, got the hook out, and we turned, finally, Scott and his small fingers got the hook out. So we walk over, here's the stringer. The stringer is gone. Yeah, I untied it and I dropped it because I'm 10 years old and an idiot. And we lost the pike. We lost the 2 other perch. We weren't that professional of anglers to have brought a cooler or anything like that. So there's there was, for a few years, I bet there was a pike swimming around with a stringer through its gills and mouth and 2 other fish on either side of its head until those fish died probably first, I would imagine. And I don't know, it's a weird thought to think of. It's like, what the hell happened to that pike? Because those stringers, they're hard to like come undone by their own. They're got the ring. Yeah, it's like it's fish centipede or something. Some weird malicious thing. You know, this pike's running around with these 2 fish corpses on the side of his head. It's like, hey man, don't get caught. You'll never know what these twisted people up there will do to you. You know? And so nobody believed us. Nobody believed the story because it's so ridiculous. That's truly how it happened. And so for me, the big one that got away is this story about this 22-inch, 70-ounce pike. And the reason why I remembered the numbers is because I knew no one would believe me. You know, I got 3 other people corroborating my story, and people still don't believe me that I caught this 22-inch, 70-ounce northern pike. And all the best anglers have a story like that, the one who got away. What happened to that fish? I want to talk about one more thing before I get into the news, and it's a movie review. It's a movie review of a movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer. I don't get bored already. Don't get bored already. I know a lot of people find chess boring, and it reflects, and that reflects in the rating that I'll give to Searching for Bobby Fischer. But I think Searching for Bobby Fischer is an important movie in many ways, because number one, it's about playing games, and EK and I were just not too long ago. We're talking about games we play, like Heroes Unlimited. We play role-playing games and stuff like that. And that's why I like this movie, Searching for Bobby Fischer, is because it's about playing a game. And any game you can get really in-depth in. And chess is one of those games you get really in-depth into. And, you know, I guess I remember started playing chess like in 1st or 2nd grade, because we had like a bunch of games and stuff like that. And one of them was a chess/checkerboard. And I was like, this checkers game is freaking stupid. What do these pieces do? And so eventually I learned chess, and I tried to teach other people, other 1st graders, chess, and it was tough, all right? And so I've played chess. I was on the chess club once. I'm not even going to point out the years. I'm not even going to tell you what years, but I was on the chess club. I've played chess. I've read books about chess, all right? I like to play games, all right? And chess is a game. And what I like about this movie is that it's about somebody who has an ability, who's really good at something, and then everybody kind of wants a piece of it, you know, because it's so rare. Like, talent is so truly rare that even people who study it for their whole lives just want to get a taste of what it's like to be a genius kid who can play chess. All right? And that's what the story of Searching for Bobby Fischer is about. Bobby Fischer is a kid who grows up seeing these men playing chess in the park. And he sees that and he's like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm understanding that game. I want to play it with these people. These people look like they're having fun. They look like they're good at what they do. I want to play with those people. But, you know, his dad finds out he's good at chess. And so he plays his dad, and he's got to, like, it gets down to a point where his dad, he comes and makes a move, and his dad, like, it takes three hours to make his move. You know, this kid's destroying his dad. Joe Montana plays his dad, and it is excellent. Destroys his dad in chess. He doesn't really want to play against his dad. He wants to play against these types of people. And these types of people are like good old Lawrence Fishburne here, one of my favorite actors, Lawrence Fishburne. Because the kid comes to the park and plays some Russian dude who's mumbling to himself, plays fast, plays effectively, and the whole time, Lawrence Fishburne is over there. He's looking cool, as always. Lawrence Fishburne looking cool, eating Chinese takeout with chopsticks, watching this game from afar, as this kid gives this crazy Russian master a heck of a time, but eventually loses. And so eventually this kid, he wants to go play with these people in the park, and Lawrence Fishburne is one of these people too. And then there's Ben Kingsley. And Ben Kingsley is this a erudite type of chess master. Oh, I've been studying chess for so many years, and I'm Ben Kingsley, and look how official and smart I sound. And there's several times where Ben Kingsley says, I don't want this kid to be playing in the park with these guys because they're teaching him, he's learning the wrong things. And Ben Kingsley is both wrong and right about that, all right? Because when it comes to something like a game of chess, there is playing with emotion. There's playing with your gut, like the way the kid learned to play in the park. And it's also watching these people play in the park is always more fun than a stuffy official chess tournament. All right? Watching guys play in the park is always more fun than watching guys play in an official tournament.
Yeah, because there's a trash talk element.
Yes, there's trash talk. And you see that in the film. And so I think Ben Kingsley is both wrong and right about that, because he is right in the sense that the kid, I forget his name, but it's not Bobby Fischer. It's the kid, he should think about chess in all manners, in the way that all people think about chess, and learning to think about it in a more erudite or like a meta-analysis way. I thought the right word last night. Shoot, that's lost now. In a meditative way. Instead of playing with your gut. If you want to compete, if you want to be good at chess, you got to think about it from all angles. Because when I play chess, I was the D-bag who read chess books. I was pretty good at it, and I can beat most people at chess, but people who really play, probably not. I probably can't win. I'll probably win against some of them, but it's not like I'm a competitor. And I didn't really start enjoying playing chess in particular until I started to learn to play with my gut and not be concerned about what my opponent may do. And in many ways, that's how I play all games now. It's like I play with my gut, not my head, because when I sit there and I think about all the patterns and the memorization and the gambits you could do in a chess game, it makes my head hurt. It makes my head hurt. I don't like that. It takes the joy out of the game for me. And the point of playing chess, the point of playing any game, is to have fun. Just like those guys in the park are having fun. Those guys in the stuffy halls of academia studying chess like it's a job, those guys aren't having fun. That's the point of games. That's the point of gaming. And that's the reason why I don't play chess anymore, is because there's way more interesting games out there. But I will play chess again. Probably one day. I'll play any game. You can come up and challenge me on the street. It's like, I challenge you. What's a really obscure? I challenge you to Pokemon. Which edition? Which edition's that? Which cards are legal? You ever play those CCGs, those customizable card games? See, EK's drawing a blank, but I bet you EK's played chess, and I know you've played Heroes Unlimited. But that's what I mean. It's like I've played all types of games. You have no idea. You want to play Magic the Gathering? Okay, nerd. Anyway, let's get into the news worth knowing.
Let me take away Bobby Fischer first.
Yeah, that's fine. That wasn't Bobby Fischer, though. They were looking for Bobby Fischer because Bobby Fischer was a crazy person. And he thought he deserved celebrity status for being the best chess player ever. Sorry. Even the best baseball player ever is just kind of noticed. And the only reason anyone noticed Joe DiMaggio really is because of Marilyn Monroe. I mean, baseball is culturally important, but, dating Marilyn Monroe, more culturally important. Anyway. Let's go to this first story. Let's get through the news worth knowing. So, yeah, the biggest conspiracy in American history. Media rushes to dismiss Durham findings that further debunked beloved Russian collusion narrative. The establishment media, funny that Fox is thinking that means somebody other than them, is being accused of journalistic negligence after rushing to dismiss special counsel John Durham's report that reiterated one of its beloved talking points, that the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia to influence the 2016 presidential election. It was bogus all along. Too many hyphens. Who wrote this? Brian Flood. Interesting. Despite the liberal pundits and other members of the press pushing the collusion narrative for years, Durham's 300-page report indicated the Department of Justice and the FBI failed to uphold their mission of strict fidelity to the law, quote unquote, when it launched the Trump-Russia investigation that never found any collusion to begin with. DePau? You got to be DePaul, right? DePau? P-A-U-W? It's a real place in Greencastle, Indiana. Okay, DePauw. I stand corrected. DePauw University journalism professor Jeffrey McCall believes lack of interest in the Durham report by the media is quite disturbing, but not really surprising. That's an understatement. Quote, the establishment media were so fully gulled and in the tank for the Russian collusion story for so long that now they just can't acknowledge Durham's report without also having to eat crow at the same time, something they clearly aren't willing to do. McCall told Fox News Digital. Yeah, no one wants to eat crow these days. Not even Bud Light. They're doing this new camo thing now, and it's like, dude, that's not how you're going to fix it. It's not how you're going to fix it. My advice is the best advice. Say, we're sorry, men are men and women are women. All right, anyway. Eat the crow. You got to eat the crow. That might be the title of the show. You got to eat the crow. All right, have a slice of humble pie. Fox News contributor Joe Concha said the media rejecting Durham's report is, quote, as predictable as the sun rising in the east, and it reiterates that many of the MSNBC and CNN pundits simply have no shame. Quote, John Durham, who has as much credibility as anyone in Washington, concludes the FBI should have never launched that investigation, and that the evidence, such as the Steele dossier, was limp to begin with, Concha told Fox News Digital. Went on to say, of course, all of those who insisted the Steele dossier was so credible are the same people now saying that Durham's conclusion is a nothing burger, Concha concluded. These people have no shame and will never hold themselves to the type of high standards we should expect from those in journalism. It wasn't lost on observers that many of the same people who pushed the Russiagate conspiracy were eager to downplay any investigation into its origins. CNN contributor Andrew McCabe, a former FBI deputy director who was fired by then Attorney General Jeff Sessions in 2018, attempted to downplay Durham's findings. Quote, I vehemently disagree with Mr. Durham's characterization of what we did in the report, and it's very simple. He betrays a deep misunderstanding of not only what we knew at the time, but how we make these decisions, McCabe told Anderson Cooper. Quote, there's nothing new here, McCabe said, insisting that Durham never intended producing an honest investigation into the anti-Trump Russia probe. Excuse me. MSNBC's Joy Reid enlisted disgraced FBI agent Peter Strzok, all the names, who was referenced in the report to say it was predictable, sad ending to investigation that should have never taken place. That's the point. It's like all these people who are involved in this stuff are now freely invited frequently on the left-wing news channels. It is such an obvious, conspiracy between the FBI and the Justice Department and the news media against Donald Trump, against a president of these United States. I wonder if they talked more about the. No, it's just they're not talking about even in Fox article. I don't see them many mention of the Hunter Biden laptop. That letter that was signed by like 51 or 61 intelligence people saying that, oh yeah, this is a Russian thing. It's total BS. It doesn't matter. Turns out it made a difference. It made a difference in the election. So we need to clean out the FBI. This is incredibly unethical what they have done. As an agency of this government, I mean, you should be impartial. Even when I was in the Navy, it's like we don't do the politics talk. The commander-in-chief is the commander-in-chief, And I was in when George W. Bush was there, I mean, granted, it was early and not a whole lot of people were talking about George W. Bush. But at the same time, it's like that kind of talk is not allowed because we serve the Constitution of the United States. We serve the American people. The commanders-in-chief come and go. Just like your section leader comes and goes. Just like your LPO comes and goes. Just as your seniors and all the people you interact with in your chain of command come and go. Anyway, I don't know if it's like that now in the Navy. Who knows? All right, let's talk about this brawl at Disney World. So a disagreement between families over a picture leads to a fight, officials say. So a disagreement at Walt Disney World between two families is over taking a picture allegedly led to a fight, according to Florida officials. Fox 35 reported that a fight broke out at around 2:30 p.m. on Monday at Disney's Magic Kingdom when a family was asked to move in order to allow room for a separate family to take a picture by the 100th anniversary sign, the Orange County Sheriff's Office said. Deputies said a larger family stood in the area where a separate family was standing to take a picture. Were they fatter or more people? Okay, that's confusing. When a family member in front of the sign asked someone from the larger group to move in order to make room for a picture, an individual from the larger group began throwing punches? What did they say? Okay, so somebody said, did you see how it broke out? So the person can be heard saying in the video, I was just walking right here and just saw it happening. Yeah, that's how it goes. Someone who was injured because of the fight was treated at the theme park and declined to press charges. Someone who was injured because of the fight. Deputies said that two people from the larger family were forced to leave the Disney park. So probably the instigators. But only for one family. So yeah, it's hard to tell. But what is wrong with people these days? You know, there's all these videos, especially in like classrooms and stuff like that. Fights, people like, chill out. Why is everyone so angry? It's just a picture. Not people so disconnected from each other. Give each other space. Be patient. Because this group's taking a picture and it's like, oh, they're taking too long. We want to take a picture too. Can you move? Can you move? It's ridiculous. It's like going up to somebody in a parking spot, standing by their car, waiting for them to come out of the store and be like, geez, I've been waiting forever for this spot. It's, be considerate. Be considerate of others. Have patience with people. People are idiots and they are slow at doing things. I know. I worked for the government. Slow to get anything done. Anyway, let's go to the next story about Elon Musk being based. So, Elon Musk defends bashing Soros in exchange with a reporter. He bought pet prosecutors. So Twitter owner Elon Musk defended himself against allegations that he was, quote, anti-Semitic after he criticized liberal billionaire George Soros and called him out for funding, quote, pet prosecutors that do the minimum against violent criminals. This was freedom of speech. Musk said something like that in his recent comments against Soros during an interview on CNBC on Tuesday. If anything, Musk added he considered himself a pro-Semite. He also refused to back down after he said that Soros hates humanity, quote unquote, hates humanity, and quote, wants to erode the very fabric of civilization. I think that's true. That's my opinion, Musk told CNBC. After Musk was repeatedly pressed about his criticism of Soros and whether that hurts his business, he made another movie reference. I'm reminded of the scene in Princess Bride where he confronted the person who killed his father. Musk said, referred to the character of Inigo Montoya. Oh, is that who it is? Offer me money, offer me power, I don't care, Musk said, paraphrasing a famous scene where Montoya comes face to face with his father's killer. I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it, Musk concluded. Musk tweeted again, put your money where your mouth is. Absolutely, sir. Musk tweeted again about Soros on Tuesday, writing that the Hungarian-American billionaire has exploited a weak point in American justice system, prosecutorial discretion. Quote, Soros astutely identified a massive arbitrage opportunity in district attorney elections where a relatively small amount of money has outsized influence, Musk wrote. Soros has come under renewed criticism from Republicans after it was revealed that he had funded the left-wing district attorneys that represent 20% of Americans across the country. More recently, Soros has been criticized for over $1 million contribution he made to a group closely tied to Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor who led the indictment against former President Donald Trump. Musk added that Soros' dismantling of the legal system was intentional. Quote, Soros' instructions and his pet prosecutors were essentially to minimize prosecuting even violent criminals. That's why a criminal, someone who has already stabbed his roommate, could brutally assault Dave Chappelle on stage with the same deadly weapon and yet receive merely a misdemeanor. Wow. Man, he is concise when he talks, isn't he? Packs a lot in it, too. It's like he even name-dropped Dave Chappelle. Isaiah Lee was sentenced to 270 days in county jail after he tackled comedian Dave Chappelle on stage at the Hollywood Bowl in California. Lee told the Post during the jailhouse interview he was triggered by Chappelle's anti-LGBTQ+ jokes and claimed that Will Smith's slap of Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars inspired him. I don't remember reading that. That's insane. Oh my God. Musk also commented on the 2020 presidential election, saying that he believed that Biden won the election. He said there was still election interference. There was Twitter and others engaged in the act of suppression of information that was relevant to the public. That's a terrible thing that happened. That's election interference, Musk said in reference to Hunter Biden's laptop story being initially restricted from the social media platform in the days leading up to the 2020 election. So, yeah, Elon Musk is based, and George Soros is evil. I mean, it's unfortunate that, supervillains are a real thing. They are very much a real thing. And the closest thing we got to a superhero is Elon Musk. And I know it's not much. I mean, I wish he would build himself an Iron Man suit or something like that, or inject himself with spider chemicals and make himself a Spider-Man or something. Wouldn't that be so awesome? Odds are I'd probably just die. Get some disease, like, oh, this is interacting poorly with my system, and he dies. But I mean, Elon Musk is the closest thing we have to, because supervillains have been prevalent and in charge for so long. If you look at all those classic supervillains like Lex Luthor, they're wealthy philanthropist businessmen. They're evil Bruce Waynes in many ways. It's like, instead of being Bruce Wayne, to using his wealth to, assemble a network of connective, good-hearted people, good-hearted people trying to do the right thing, you get the opposite going on. Dr. Jordan Peterson, I listen to him a lot. He often talks about, it's like, we know how bad evil can go, but we don't know the upper limits of how far good can go. And I think that's a very interesting concept, is because, there's the George Soroses in the world. There's the people who you think are supervillains. Probably there's some overlap with us. There's legitimate supervillains in this world. And it's like, but we don't know the upper limits of what heroism could be in the positive side of that coin. You know what I'm saying? That's something to think about. And it's something that you need to understand. I think that is what Elon Musk is doing. I mean, it's not like Elon Musk. I think it's very important what he said here at the end. What he said was, Musk commented on the 2020 election that he believed that Biden won the election, but there was still election interference. He's stopping short of saying we need to pull Biden out of office, put Trump in, because that is actually a revolutionary thought, idea, and plan. That's a little crazy. All right? It's a little over the line. So, I mean, I don't agree with Musk and everything. I think that but I think that he does believe in the American ideals. And I think Twitter's a better place now. I actually enjoy scrolling through Twitter. All right, let's go to this next story. So, Missouri ends rule limiting gender transition treatment for minors and some adults. So, Missouri's emergency rule limiting gender transition treatments for minors and some adults was abruptly ended on Tuesday. This emergency rule terminated effective May 16, 2023, the Missouri Secretary of State website read. The rule proposed by State Attorney General Andrew Bailey would have required minors and adults to undergo more than a year of therapy and fulfill other requirements before receiving access to gender transition treatments, including puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries. Bailey said in a statement that his office is standing in the gap until the legislature acted on the issue of gender transition medical care. State lawmakers passed a bill last week that would ban minors from receiving any kind of medical treatment. GOP Governor Mike Parson is expected to sign the bill into law. Quote, the General Assembly has now filled that gap with a statute, Bailey said. I'm proud to have shed light on the experimental nature of these procedures and will continue to do everything in my power to make Missouri the safest place in the nation for children. Seems like a given, right? It should be a given that any state should be a safe place for children. But no, that's not true. The legislature also approved a bill to ban transgender student athletes in public and private schools from competing on sports teams that do not correspond with their biological sex. Bailey had planned to oppose the rule on April 27th, but a lawsuit was filed by the American Civil Liberties Union of Missouri to stop it. The lawsuit argued that Bailey bypassed the legislature and did not have the authority to regulate medical care through Missouri's consumer protection law. Judge Elon Ribaudo, later gained a temporary restraining order and scheduled a hearing for July 20th. The proposed rule would have required people to experience an intense pattern of documented gender dysphoria for 3 years, receive at least 15 hourly sessions with a therapist in at least 18 months before receiving treatment. People seeking this medical care would also be required and screened for autism. Psychiatric symptoms from mental health issues would have to be treated and resolved. Bailey said he proposed the rule in an effort to protect minors from what he described as experimental medical treatments. Well, it is what they are. At least 14 U.S. states have full or partial bans on gender transition care for transgender youth, according to ABC News. It's not nearly enough. I think all this weird Dr. Mengele science experiment stuff has got to stop, especially when it comes to children. You want to have an argument about after you're an adult, after you're over like 25, once your brain is fully mature, at 25 years old, you want to get a surgery? We can have that debate. I don't think you should, but we can have that debate, consenting adults and all that. But when it comes to people under 25 years old, because that's how long it takes your brain to actually get fully operational. I have a big problem with that. I have a serious problem with that when you're talking about anyone under 18. That's twisted Dr. Mengele human centipede type of stuff. Let's just start chopping stuff up. Let's see if we can make a working Johnson. I bet you we could try. Let's try to make one. It's insanity. All right, let's get to a couple of funnier stories, I guess, before we get out of here. Excuse-moi. I wet my whistle here. So get this. Photographer says woman requested a refund on wedding photos after 4 years of marriage. Quote, I'm now divorced. Okie dokie. Photographer has gone viral for sharing an unusual refund request he apparently received from a former client who's now divorced and doesn't want her wedding photos anymore. Lance Romeo posted screenshots. That's not your real name, is it? That can't be your real name. Lance Romeo posted screenshots of reported text correspondence he had with a woman he photographed in 2019. Quote, I swear my life is a movie. You can't make this stuff up. Well, yeah, you can. Romeo captured the screenshots, which he uploaded last month to Facebook, and they've been shared by thousands of social media users. The former bride, whose identity hasn't been revealed, reminded Romeo that he was hired for a wedding day photo shoot in Durham, a coastal city in South Africa, which is a 6.5-hour drive from her home in Johannesburg. Well, I'm now divorced, and those pictures of I and my ex-husband don't need them anymore. Former client reportedly wrote, according to the screenshot Romeo shared. Quote, you did a wonderful job on them, but they went to waste as we are now divorced. I will need a refund on the amount we paid because we don't need them anymore. The message continued. Did this lady go to the wet dress shop and said, I got divorced? Yeah, I didn't need it after all. So you might as well give me the full price that I paid for it. Even though I wore it and had it for 4 years. Anyway. Romeo asked his client if her request was a joke, and he eventually explained that his photography services are non-refundable. Quote, I've already delivered you to the service and the pictures. He wrote back, according to the screenshot he shared, I can't refund you because I can't untake the pictures. Take care now. Former client argued that Romeo's contract didn't state that he had no refund policy, and she should be entitled to a refund. Boy, this chick is salty, huh? Romeo disagreed with her stance and informed the divorcee that, or is it divorcee? Divorcee? I don't know. That he won't honor her refund request. Quote, I would like to remain professional with you and just reassure you that you will not be getting a refund, he wrote back. It's bad enough you want a refund 4 years later. It's unfortunately embarrassing on your part. Ooh, that's not... You wanted to remain professional. Former bride claimed she forwarded the conversation to her lawyer. Okay. That's money you're not getting back, babe. Romeo replied that he still thought he was being subjected to a prank. Quote, look, I really sympathize with on divorce. I can imagine what you went through, but that's not the way to deal. This is not the way to deal with it. Other than that, there's nothing really more I can do for you. He wrote, according to uploaded screenshots. The former client replied a day later, said he'd let our lawyer. She said they'd let our lawyers deal with it, but she would like at least 70% of her money refunded so she can move on and heal from everything. She suggested Romeo meet her in Johannesburg to discuss the matter in person. He declined the request once more with a big Bugs Bunny meme that says, no, tell your lawyer to call me. He replied. The Fox News Digital reached out for comment. Romeo's former client did not receive much sympathy on social media, and many users suggesting the behavior she's displaying is likely the cause for her divorce. Despite the text interaction being brief. This is a quote, tell her you'll refund her when her ex-husband refunds her for those wasted years. One Facebook commenter wrote. Quote, she should try to get a refund from the people who make her wedding cake. Yes, the dress, the cake event, the venue, the catering. Absolutely. Get all the money back for the beer you drank. Okay. So, many commenters offered mock suggestions. Tell her you can offer extended services and Photoshop the husband out of the pictures for an extra fee. Can't you just sell those pictures to another happy couple who might be newlyweds or happily married, but were just too unfortunate to afford a good photographer? Are they non-transferable? Okay, so we had a good laugh at that woman's pain, because really this is what that's all about, right? This woman has a lot of pain over what has happened, but you're seeking to blame anyone other than yourself, and that's the problem with a lot of people these days. Is like they are too quick to blame someone else for everything going wrong in their life. There's only one chess piece in this world that you control. There's only one thing in this world that you control, and that is you yourself. Time to grow up, young lady. All right, let's go to this last story, and then we're out of here. Rabbit running loose in Iowa neighborhood reportedly bites residents.
Sharp and pointy teeth.
It's got big pointy teeth. It can leap. Look at the bones. Guess how this article starts. In a story that seemed to be ripped from the 1975 movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail, people in Perry, Iowa claimed that a black rabbit had bitten at least one resident last week. The Perry Police Department have confirmed in that video that a rabbit exists in a private Perry community Facebook page. Oh, my Lord. The, quote, rabbit has taken to waste treatment plant and released and has not been reported to be seen again as far as we know. Police spokesperson wrote in an email to Fox News Digital. Perry is a city just under 8,000 people, according to the U.S. Census. It's located just northwest of Des Moines and Dallas County, Iowa. Excuse me. Got a picture of a rabbit here. It said, the rabbit, not pictured. Quote, let's see, that's not a quote. An Iowa-based rabbit rescue released a statement on Facebook saying that it was appalled how the incident was handled by police. Quote, we want to assure everyone that we're working behind the scenes to help find this rabbit who deserves a compassionate, safe indoor housing and medical care. What? A home for everybody. Iowa's rabbit rescue Facebook post reads, which was shared on May 11th. Oh, Lord.
Is this a joke?
No, that's real, man. That's real. It's not a joke. The rabbit was likely a pet who was scared after being abandoned, according to a home for every bunny. As the rabbit had black fur, it was not a wild rabbit. A representative for the home of every bunny, Iowa's rabbit rescue, told Fox News Digital via email. He must have took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. The only wild cottontails in the state of Iowa are the eastern cottontail, which is a gouty colored. I don't know what that means. The representative wrote, since black rabbits aren't wild, we know this is a domesticated rabbit. Domesticated rabbits don't have the skills to survive in the wild. How so? Don't rabbits just reproduce a lot and that's how they survive? What? They don't fight, you know?
Maybe they don't have as much game in like the big world.
They don't have a game in the big world? What? I don't get it.
They don't have as much game, you know? They can't get laid as easily.
Oh, they can't. Yeah, it's harder for the domesticated rabbits to get laid. And it's like, who's this soft, doughy thing? Ugh. What? Get away from us, fat boy. Your fur's all black. We don't. The rabbits are racist. They almost always suffer injury, illness, and worst case scenario, horrific and avoidable death. They're rabbits. They're prey creatures. They're prey creatures. It's what they do. They die. They get killed by predators. That's why they bang a lot. That's why like banging like bunnies is an expression. Oh my God. Officials for a home for every bunny probably doesn't like me. They disputed claims that the rabbit may have been wreaking havoc over the neighborhood. He's biting people. As prey animals, rabbits are often misunderstood creatures. Behaviors that appear, so you know they're prey animals. Okay. Behaviors that appear aggressive are actually defensive. Duh, it's a rabbit. Rabbit is protecting its life after being left to fend for itself. Rabbits are the third most surrendered pet, according to A Home for Every Bunny. See, I understand I'm on your side, A Home for Every Bunny, because I don't understand people who will get a pet and abandon them. That's irresponsible and abhorrent. So I'm glad you exist for that reason. All right, Home for Every Bunny stress that there are wonderful animal rescues in Iowa across the U.S. Please reach out to them if you are no longer able to care for your rabbit or any pet. Don't just let them outside. And better yet, please do your research before making a rabbit part of your family. They're a 10+ year commitment. Yeah, it's like giving your kid a baby chicken for Easter or something like that. Are you an idiot?
Not a good idea.
Yeah, not a good idea. You're gonna have a chicken in your house soon. I mean, it's officially a chicken, but you're like, oh, it's so fluffy and cute, and soon you got a dinosaur. Anyway. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate that very much. You can also send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word, on the Cash App. Send me money that way. Follow me on social media at DNALETSAW. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards, at Denalitsaw on Twitter. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. And at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. You can also buy my books. They're available for digital download on Amazon.com. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 B's and 2 T's on Amazon.com. Or you can follow the links down in the description below. So this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.